Blazer Nation, good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. I'm so excited that you are here with us this morning. My name is Stephen A. Hart. I'm the host of Trailblazers.fm, interview style podcast I launched back in February of 2016, fast approaching our 6th year anniversary. Through this platform, I have been blessed to have been able to interview over 250 amazing Black leaders, entrepreneurs, and creatives. And it is my hope that the knowledge we gain from these interviews, you would be able to put to use on your journey to blazing your trail. I'm a marketer. I am a brand strategist. I am a content creator, but I'm most proud of being Kristen's husband and together being able to raise two amazing crumb snatchers that are keeping us quite active. Just got back from getting these kids out to school. And without further delay, back in the summer, I convinced my dear brother, Mr. Shawn, to join me on these Wednesday morning lives, to impart some motivational mission fuel, and he said yes. And for a few months now, we've been imparting some gems through these conversations. And so, good morning, my brother. How are you today?
Good morning, my good brother Stephen Hart, my Jamaican brethren, and
Yes.
I woke up. So I am good this morning. There is someone that went to sleep last night that did not wake up. And so I wanted to welcome you and say good morning to you and welcome our Blazer Nation. And I'm going to ask you to put in a word on what's your word for today. And I'm excited every morning, right? But particularly on these Wednesday mornings. And, Stephen, you asked me to do a Wednesday mission field podcast with you. And I don't know how you roped me into or convinced me or persuaded me to do this every Wednesday, but I want to thank you, right? Sometimes, when we're standing, at the water's edge or at the shoreline, contemplating whether we're going to stick a toe in or whether we're going to jump, we just need somebody to lovingly push us into the deep end. So I want to just thank you for that. And we have branded this. This is both Mission Fuel Wednesday and Willionaire Wednesday, right? And I've been saying for years that, we've been hearing a lot about billionaires and the billionaire class, and everybody can't be a billionaire, but you can be a willionaire, right? And I want to just bring in my hero, Muhammad Ali, who says, champions are made from something they have deep inside them. A desire, a dream, a vision. They have to have the skill and the will, but the will must be stronger than the skill. That's Muhammad Ali, right? And just want to bring in a couple of other folks before we get started. Just a little mission fuel to get us started before we turn over to our guest. I heard you when I joined the green room. You and Kelly, who will be joining us in a few, were talking about children growing up with disabilities and labels and things turning out miraculously different than what the experts may have predicted. And it made me think of Terry Williams, a mentor of mine, the author of Black Pain, It Just Looks Like We're Hurting, the author of Personal Touch. And one of the things Terry used to say to me and everyone that would listen to her, she says that what you think might be your curse could be your blessing in disguise, right? Somebody needs to hear that this morning, right? Somebody woke up stressed. Somebody woke up overwhelmed. And I just want you to know my mission fuel for you is that you may feel overwhelmed, but you are not overmatched, right? All right. We do have a guest. This is just not you and I going, riffing back and forth. And typically, we just dive in. But I just wanted just to read the opening of Kelly R. Little's bio, right? And let's go ahead and bring them in, right? And shower some love on a brother coming in from North Carolina. Kelly R. Little is an author. He's a poet, visionary, action-oriented leader. He's a podcast, transformational coach, motivational speaker, humanitarian activist, social justice pioneer, and strategist who partners with people and professionals to elevate community and organizational growth. A few other lines before we introduce Kelly. Selflessly serving is more than a phrase to this retired and highly decorated combat veteran who has served his country honorably for over 24 years. This is a love warrior, a prayer warrior. He's a community builder. He's a faith builder, a front runner, a fire starter. Welcome, Kelly Little. Share with us, what's your mission fuel to do all that you do?
First and foremost, peace, blessings, and elevations, Brother Stephen, Brother Shawn. And I'll say this, my mission fuel is simply, I understand that I stand on the back of my ancestors, my mother, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and all those who preceded us in life. And so everything that they did will not be in vain. And even the military experience, if I can fight for the country for 24 years, I owe a lifetime to Black and brown people and our elevation. And so that's my mission fuel.
I love it.
Our theme for today is that transformational times require transformational leadership. You have written a book entitled The King's Journey to Transformation, Reclaiming the Village by Defeating the Enemy Within. And your byline is and how you are known. I often ask people, what do you want to be known for? And I don't have to ask you that question. You're going to be known for the village king. How did that moniker, come about you? Was that self-proclaimed? Did somebody anoint you that? What do you mean? How are you the village king, right? Who says that what you're talking about?
Well, actually, it's funny. So, two people anointed that in different places. One was an elder, and the commitment and work that I put in the community for years. And he watched me from a pup in Philadelphia, and many of the things that I learned from him and some of the other elders. And then as I transitioned to North Carolina and was in this work a couple years ago, what really made it stick was Brother Jasmine Spain, who both of you all know.
Yes.
He was like, Brother Kelly, you are the village king. And I'm like, this is crazy. Two different places where I was born and raised in Philadelphia, and now I'm in North Carolina, and I heard it twice. And so I don't think anything happens for happenstance. It's the universe communicating with you. The question is, are you willing to listen? And that aligned me to my purpose and what I'm supposed to be doing, not only what I have been doing, because that's what I've been trained to do, but deep down, intuitively, the Creator instructs us and guides our steps. And that was confirmation that there was more work to be done and that I needed to earn that title, although it was already given to me.
Yeah, sometimes, we got to grow into what folks see in us, what folks speak into us, and even anoint us, right? Sometimes people see things in us that we don't even see in ourselves, right? And so, Village King, Kelly Little, we're talking about transformational leadership, right? We are in transformational times. And you profess in your book that first you have to, in order to reclaim the village, requires defeating the enemy within, right? What do you mean by that, right?
Well, that's funny you would ask that, Brother Shawn. Look, so again, I constantly frequent the show, and you've had numerous people on here. How many times are we navigating life and people will say things that are not in our best interest? And so we're constantly consuming negative data. And I don't know if y'all remember this. I'm going to take y'all back. When we were kids, we were told that sticks and stones may break our bones, but names will never hurt. But what we consume, we become. And so defeating that enemy meant I had to go back to my upbringing and the trauma I experienced in Philadelphia and what I saw in terms of communication, how people looked at people of color. And so all these thoughts were thoughts that at some point I started to believe that's who I was. And being able to have reflection and introspection, that enemy within was I was living a life that people had projected upon me, not the life that I was purposed to do by the Creator. And so it took that individual time with self to be able to understand who I was. So that was what I consider to be emotional intelligence, right? Self-mastery, self-regulation, social mastery, and social regulation, which ties back into leadership. So once I know, and this is the elder Ron speaking, right?
Ron Walker.
Yes, sir. Another Philadelphian. Once I know whose I am, then I can learn who I am.
Yes.
And I can impact the world very differently.
So, sounds good. Is good. But I know that we don't discover our purpose without pain. You shared the trauma. There's adversity, right? And so during your journey, what you didn't wake up one day and have an epiphany. What was the pain, the adversity that you had to overcome to get to the place where you are now and are continuing to overcome and to heal?
So, wow, Shawn, that's a loaded question. So let me go back to Philadelphia. First and foremost, I grew up in a single parent home with 6 women in the house, a cousin who was a Muslim who really did a lot for me because he exposed me to so many things. But I'll say this: someone died in my house because I had a relative who was on crack, right? I was in the street life at a young age. I transitioned from that. I had so many friends who are no longer here today because of that life that they lived in Philadelphia. And earlier we was talking in the back room, and Stephen talked about a relative who went to school on the University of Pennsylvania's campus. Well, my high school was on the University of Pennsylvania's campus, Ivy League. And so I was exposed to this Ivy League feel. I was there because I was playing basketball. I had an English teacher who told me I should focus on working with my hands, kind of passive aggressive and racist. And it was those things and people projecting stuff. And then when I went into the military, I had a couple experiences. And so those things, as well as seeing people blatantly treated very differently because of the color of their skin or because they were a woman, really was some of the adversity that propelled me into the space that I was in today. And it's one other instance that really sits with me, which is why I decided to leave Philadelphia at the time. I saw somebody jump in front of the train when I was in the 12th grade, and their life was lost. But growing up in Philadelphia, it was just, everybody was so impassive that we were just worried about, I was worried about getting to school. People was worried about getting to work. But you just lost human potential. A life was lost. That person was somebody's relative. That person was somebody's son. And at that point, I realized that something had to happen, but I didn't fully transform, honestly, until I would say 48. We was at Rumble, and your famous thing line, Shawn, was, nobody's coming to save us. We are the iconic heroes that we long for. And so at that point, I walked away from roughly close to $100,000 with no job, and decided that I was going to live in my purpose. I already had the nonprofit and I had a for-profit that was a coaching practice, but I immersed myself into both of them because it was time for me to move into my new season and my lifetime, which is giving back to community, not temporarily, but for the rest of my life. And so that's what put me where I am today on this journey.
Wow. And grateful for you, brother. And you're one of them brothers. I don't know exactly when we first met. Sometimes there are people in your lives who's like, poof, they're like just there. And you have always been humble brother, but yet bold, a bold brother. And just telling that story of 12th grade of someone and witnessing someone jump on the tracks, right? And I write in my book, which is weeks away from being in folks' hands, and folks like Stephen have gotten advanced peaks of proof. But I tell a story at the end of my addiction, contemplating that very same thing of jumping on the tracks, right? And God intervening and saying and showing me, no, you have something to live for, right? And I just think about the last 32 years. If I would have jumped on those tracks, all that would have not happened. And folks that I could not have touched, starting with my wife and my children, and so much. So I think it's really important to lift that up. You never know. This is Men's Health Awareness Month. But you never know what people are going through and who's listening that might be on the edge, right? So thanks for sharing that. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Charlotte now. How have you and how are you manifesting your purpose with families, being a transformational leader in our community in Charlotte? Give us a snapshot of the work and what you're building right now.
Snapshot. First and foremost, I'm doing work with the organization called Harvesting Humanity, which Stephen would love. Is an organization, both you and Stephen, Shawn, which is an organization led by a Jamaican young lady from out of Connecticut. And we are doing work with seniors. We're doing work to get them back involved in moving. We are connecting them with young people. We are doing integrated arts. We are creating experiences for our young people and uplifting community. And she has an international fellowship, which I've supported by purchasing some Apple products, so those over in Jamaica can connect and be connected with those here. They also have folk from Moldova. I am a team lead for My Brother's Keeper Charlotte, led by a good friend of mine by the name of Don Thomas.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That organization is the first MBK that's a nonprofit in the entire country. And so I framed out their fatherhood component for them, which we have to use to rival the school or prison pipeline. And we're connecting them to technology, agriculture, mathematics, and are being embedded into the entire school system, not only in Charlotte, but in Mecklenburg County. And we're doing it from a systems approach, right? It's not about individuals coming to the table and showing their skills. We have to transform systems and institutions to rival the systems and institutions that have been stopping us from being able to elevate into our appropriate positions, as whether it's a judge, whether we expose a young person to an experience of being a corporate leader in the banking system. The more we expose them to these opportunities and lead, lift, leverage, and create legacy. And that's really important, because one of our sisters, Dr. Pamela Jolly, says it takes 3 generations to create generational wealth.
And one to lose it.
That's right. That's right. And so we have to expose them to budgeting and money management.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I've had fellowships, and I'm embedded in school systems working with 4th, because 3rd grade kids are, particularly black males, are doing extremely well. And all of a sudden in 4th grade, the scores drop. So is that a skill problem, will problem, or is that a systems problem? And I would submit that it's a systems problem. So there's no need for me to sit back on the sidelines and complain. My job is to be a part of the solution. So I'm in the schools and school systems to help eradicate those problems. And those are some of the things. But to your point, Shawn, I'm working with Mecklenburg County Government on creating spaces for fathers to engage with the child support system and elevate their position. And I got men talking about suicide, men who were talking about they wanted to give up and they didn't have hope. And what we do is I create healing circles for them to release that trauma. We do meditation. They're meditating on the phone with their children or on the Zoom. And we are creating employment options, because at the end of the day, I sell drugs, I rob people, I do things that are unethical because it's tied to my need to be able to get money, and I'm not given opportunities. So we have to tap into that cyberspace where technology, I don't have to go to school and be in debt at $100 and something thousand when I can get a couple certifications. You had Brother Moore on here, and he started the conversation. And then you had another sister on here who started the conversation. Let's expose them to coding, artificial intelligence, all these different things to build them in their pathway to success. And I'm getting 10 scholarships out to date, 7 scholarships out to date for young people going to Morehouse, A&T, UNC Charlotte, Community College of Philadelphia, various other schools, to be able to invest into our young people as well.
Blaze a Nation. Listen, there's a 10-second delay between this recording and the live. I hope to see some hand claps right now in the comments, man. And Kelly, acknowledging you for, I mean, you dropped a whole ton of stuff there in the last couple of minutes. And the thing that caught my attention, you know, the work you're doing. I mean, every day I'm busy doing marketing to try and get people to come into the world of cyber. That's nothing compared to all that you talk about. That's really heavy work that you and Shawn do, right? And that is saving real lives each and every day, man. And, you know, there's so much things going through my head. First off, Shawn, each and every week we talk with different folks on this show. And there's so many people like Kelly who you've connected us with in the live. Kelly and I were blessed to be together at her Rumble event, right? Many years ago. And I'm a big you up, Shawn, because this is your purpose, and your talents and your calling to connect people in a special way and to encourage people like myself, like Kelly, to do the work we do, and to connect us to each other. Kelly, as you're talking about all these things that you're doing, man, I'm wondering, you know, how do you, and this was, you know, this is a purpose, but one of the many things behind Rumble right?
So
But
what's Rumble? People maybe new. There are folks
please,
part of Blazing Nation that
please,
know what Rumble is. But
you're gonna do a better job of it.
no. Kelly mentioned Rumble.
Yeah.
You mentioned Rumble.
Yeah.
Tell Blazing Nation what Rumble is and what it was for you before you go on.
Rumble, I did not understand what Rumble was before I walked into the room. And Rumble is a gathering of leaders who, like Kelly, all around the country, who are doing the work on the ground, the real work. There's so much that Kelly just touched on, and you probably need to hit rewind and listen back again to all these different pieces. And oftentimes, what I gain from Rumble, one side of it, is that folks like Kelly, pouring out everything and more. And Rumble is it for me provided this environment where you get to come and be poured into. Because you can't pour from an empty cup. We've all heard that. And Rumble was a safe environment to come, to fellowship, to share, to break down, to build back up. It was also a space for me where I was able to see for the very first time through your eyes, Shawn, on what you saw the potential for Trailblazers to be in a way I didn't see. I'd lost sight of that. I grew up with it, but I'd lost sight of it. And what I mean by that, there are also our flyweights in the room, young brothers, young boys that got exposure to the heavyweights, the grown men. And Kelly and I had young brothers at our table, one of which impacted me in a big way when he shared that from like the first or second grade, he hadn't been ruled out to achieve anything in his life. And teachers basically said, hey, don't even worry. In essence, I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, by whatever grade, they expect me to be in jail anyway. And it registered to me the work that we are doing with this platform wasn't just for me and you, right? The representation of the work we are doing has the potential to do so much more to, one, provide that young boy a hope and a future, but for those teachers of whatever ethnicity that ruled out this young Black man, this young boy and his future, I want them to also see us in a different light than they do. I'll allow you to expand on your vision and work in Rumble, but that's just a snippet of what Rumble meant to me and what I see it as. And then I want to come back to Kelly because I have a
He is the guest. We're gonna come back to Kelly.
No, I want you to expand on Rumble.
Oh, so look, Muhammad Ali was my first hero. And I remember as a young boy, my mother brought me this postcard of Muhammad Ali in his boxer shorts and holding his fists up. And I remember staring at this postcard and seeing myself in Muhammad Ali, 7, 8 years old, then watching him fight and listening and hearing his story. And in 2011, we created Rumble Young Man Rumble, which is an annual coming together of the Black Male Achievement Movement at the first Muhammad Ali Center, but in Louisville, and declaring Louisville as the epicenter of Black male achievement. And so it became a place, and I had recently come from the Alex Haley Farm for a retreat for the Children's Defense Fund. And I said, there's nothing new under the sun, right? Innovation is looking at something and putting a different spin on it. And I was like, wow, we need a place to go to. And we declared Louisville and the Muhammad Ali Center. And every year it has become a place, and we're doing a virtual one this year. It's more like a revival, more than a conference and a gathering. It is a revival of heart. It's a revival of spirit and mind, where intergenerational men and women come together, right? And I just want to say this one thing, Stephen, before passing it on to Kelly. Kelly had mentioned one of my mission mantras is that, there's no cavalry coming to save us. Save the day in the Black community, right? We are the iconic leaders that we have been waiting for. Folks often forget the last part of that we are the curators of the change we're seeking to see. And when we say that we are the curators of the change we're seeking to see, that implies that we have everything that we need already, right? If you didn't publish one more episode of Trailblazers, we got 250 episodes out there. You have an archive. You have to curate, right? And God has said to me, Shawn, I'm not giving you one more new idea in this season. Curate, innovate, and build on all that I've already have given you, right? And so those, that's what Rumble was for me. I remember Kelly being in a circle with Rumble, but I want to pass it back on to Kelly, wherever we are, pick it up and take us there. And I do have a special request of you, Kelly, in a minute before we, as we wind down.
What I wanted to ask Kelly, with all that you're doing, who do you turn to for objective input, for feedback, for encouragement, for guidance in all that you're doing?
You know what? That's a great question, Stephen. And so, as Shawn was talking earlier, I'll say this: the network of brothers and sisters who are part of Rumble Young Man Rumble, many of them are part of the people who I may communicate with when I'm navigating a situation where I need wise counsel. I can call Elder Ron. I can call Reverend Wyatt, right? I can call, I text Shawn like I had this vision. I was meditating. I seen this. I seen you doing something else that's going to be powerful. Brother Stephen, I'll go back to you. At the last Rumble, I was frustrated because something had occurred and I was going to shut down. Actually, I did shut down my my podcast. It was you who talked about a particular post that had went viral, and because of that, I went back. I created a new one that merged the voices of young people with the voices of elders, so that we bring the two together. And it also created me or caused me to really focus on balance. So it was my season to pause, right? And step back, have introspection, reflection, and then leverage those things to be able to get to healing. Because the one thing for sure, most people are searching for happiness, but happiness is temporary. It's like sadness is. Wellness is the destination, but the destination and target is always moving. So I'll add, those are the people I communicate with, but my background is in mental health. And so the other part to that is, as a leader in the mental health space for years, I understand that I have to embed in my schedule throughout the week, which is busy. I got a day where, like, on Tuesdays, I ride horses. I connect with horses. On Fridays, I groom them and go sit by the river. And that's my peace space for me to not focus on resiliency, because we all talk about the word resilience, but resilience without recharge is death while living. And so this Willionaire Wednesdays is tied to that recharge that allows us to focus on charging our batteries up and being able to maneuver through the rest of the week complete and whole.
Woo.
So that is just so powerful, and just the nature. And I know that you're coming back from a holistic healing restorative retreat. I'm going to ask you, Village King, to do something. We were just joking earlier before we came in. I was thanking Stephen for sharing the platform and hoping I don't do anything that causes him to censor or cancel me and say, we're shutting you down. But Kelly, we know that you're a certified professional mindness and mindfulness and meditation teacher. You're a leadership, life, and executive certified professional coach, an energy leadership index master practitioner, credentialed through the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. I want to ask you to take 3 minutes on this Willionaire Wednesday, Mission Fuel Wednesday, and lead us, our audience, through a 2-minute, 3-minute meditation so that we can get still, that we can pause. And I'm going to turn it over to you just to take us through a brief meditation.
So what I'll ask, if you will, and if you're comfortable, for everyone just to close their eyes. I want you to breathe into the count of 4, hold it, and release to the count of 4. And we're going to do this 3 times. Breathe into the count of 4, hold it, release. 2 more times. Breathe into the count of 4, hold it, release. Last one. Breathe into the count of 4, hold it, release. Now I want you to picture your place of peace. And while at this place of peace, I want you to feel your feet planted firmly on the ground, connected to the earth. Allow your feet to grow roots that connect deep into the earth, connecting you to this universe like you've never connected before. Tap into your sense of smell. Imagine the most beautiful smell that puts you at peace, with sounds of waterfalls being in your space. For those of us who have children and different family members, allow your mind to just think of some of the greatest moments and experiences in your life, whether it's with your children when they were born or when they accomplished major things. Allow that thought to resonate with you, to be able to connect to this cosmos, because the world is bigger than the space you're in right now. However, first we must be firmly planted in presence. And so that's why it's so very important for us to embrace this moment. Time waits for no one. And connecting to this very moment allows us to not focus on the past or not focus on the future. All we're concerned about in this moment is absorbing the here and now. Let your mind wander. When thoughts come up, breathe deeply. Allow yourself this space to release any of the tension or anxiety associated with what you have to do later in the day. Just appreciate not only presence, but all your five senses. Feel tension in your body, acknowledge it. Understand that you have to do something to release that tension, and your breathing will help you with that. I only have 2 minutes, so I want us to take one last collective deep breath and hold it for 4 seconds. Now release it audibly, loud, together, releasing all the tension, the frustration, anxiety, depression that's preventing you from being the best version of yourself. And when you're ready, open your eyes, and I need you to shake out all this tension.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you, brother, and thank you, Stephen, for just providing this platform and allowing us to do this. Now, I just want to lift up before we go back to Kelly. We had Dr. Charles Corporal on last week, and we were talking about the same thing, right? Leadership and taking a pause, and was happy to hear after that, Stephen, that you had looked at the calendar and made a decision to block off some vacation time, right? And we sometimes, I jokingly say there is no vacation from your vocation.
Mm-hmm.
You need downtime. So I want to thank you for that. And Kelly, thank you for a lead. And there's somebody I know besides myself that needed that pause. What would you do, Kelly, if you were 10 times bolder?
Shawn, I would probably be spending about 40 years in a cell like Brother Mandela was, because there will be some significant changes in this country. I consider myself to be extremely bold already, but if I was 10 times bolder, I think I would not be doing any work, and I will be mobilizing young people to radically disrupt, confront, agitate, and change this status quo that we deal with in America. We're already addressing it, but we temper our approaches so that we can secure funding, so that I don't ruin these young people's lives. But myself, I'm already committed to being that 10 times bolder that you just talked about, because it's not about me. It's not about my children or the people who I see. It's about the 3 generations downstream that we are accountable for. And if we just focus on right now, today, and not have a plan 50 to 100 years out, the same way that cities, counties, and federal government is planning, then we position ourselves to not be able to make up the difference.
What can someone listening, and they're saying right now, transformation leadership, and we talked about it's an inside job, like defeating the enemy within. What are 3 to 5 things, if I'm listening right now, that I can begin to practice to elevate my transformational leadership? What 3 to 5 things would you recommend that folks do right now, or can do right now?
First step, I would say, Brother Shawn, would be to stop and create some space and time for you to spend with yourself. Second step will be to begin journaling. What is it that you want in the future? What would you like to see change? Not what can't be changed, but what would you like to see change, right? And then I would say that we should talk to some other folk, particularly elders first. But see, I wouldn't just stick with the elders because that's what we do all the time. Our creativity is at its peak when we're young and we don't have the weight of the world on us. So talk with a young cousin, a young nephew, or someone in the community, because those young people, they're not restricted like we are with needing to go to work, not wanting to upset other people because I'm in the marketing space. So their boldness and their lack of constraints allow us to be able to pull from them. And then subsequently, do your research. I think research is critical in anything. And so through your research, I will then ask you to critically think through how you can create that. And that would be my steps. And one last step though, Shawn. Oftentimes when something doesn't work, it may be because of timing. But also I think it's important to understand that it's not about just putting another tactic or strategy in place. It's about shifting your observation. Either you need to go to higher ground so you can see more completely, or maybe we need to shift right or left so we can look at it from a different perspective. And that's what pulling that information from the elders and the youth and other folk will do. It'll give you a more global view of what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Thank you for that. Just want to recap for Blazing Nation. Start with some solitude. Spend some time alone. Create a journaling practice, right? That you can do while you're in solitude. Connect with community, elders, and youth and children. And you write about coming around when you want solace. You get around children and you just observe. Research and study, right? And then shift perception and a perspective. And, Brother Terrell Anderson put in the chat how your children's book called They Lift the Way. Right? Oh, wow. We got it. And we're going to find out how we can order that. But he said that it shifted things for his nephew. And so talk about They Lit the Way, your children's book.
Oh, man. Brilliant, brother Terrell. And I'm just glad that it's had that impact on his nephew. It was intended to, it's a play on words too. They lit the way. It's a play on literacy. And the they who we're speaking to is speaking to our ancestors and the power of the heroes and sheroes that exist in our community that we don't understand our heroes and sheroes. And so it's lifting them up and really focus on village and community.
Transformational times, right? We got about a transformational 10 minutes left in this episode. And you write in your book, The King's Journey to Transformation, about generational healing, generational grieving. We talked about battling systems that it's always been transformational times for Black folks in this country. What else are you seeing in your work that is like, wow, these are transformational times that creates a sense of action and urgency? What are you seeing in your community?
Shawn, if you will, I'll go back 18, 20 months, right? COVID hit us. It's transformed the way we've interacted. It's changed the way that we've engaged. Oftentimes, we have this one mask that we wear to go outside now and to be in conversation with people.
Mm.
But I'm gonna ask you in this moment to take that mask off and focus on the mask that we wear when we walked outside before COVID,
Mm.
to project the image that wasn't really who we were.
Mm.
And so as we talk about transformation and transitional times, right? It is important that you align with yourself
Mm.
and know who you are, not who people told you are, but really, because again, we focus on degrees, certifications, and all these things. How often are we spending time with ourselves and truly knowing who we are? Because in these transformational times, in COVID, our ability to get back to what a village is and communicate with the Stephen when I was too busy working prior to that, it's really shift the narrative of not just my community, but the entire world. And so we have to do some things differently. We have to groom our kids differently. We have to understand that we are not what I would say boxed in from those things that we were previously kind of focused on.
Mm.
Now we have the ability to impact and affect the world through technology, through the apps, through so many other things that community is really trying to figure out what the new normal is, but also at the same time, they're embracing some of the changes and shifts that has impacted how they move, how they work, and we see it in lack of people going back into the employment space,
Mm.
right? We see it in the fact that unfortunately in this space, although a lot of crimes went down, domestic violence went up.
Mm.
Gun
And
violence
so,
also.
say again.
Gun violence,
Mm.
state violence. Yeah, just
Yep.
the violence in general in this country.
But mental health has been
Yeah.
elevated in this space too.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things an upside of the pandemic, right, and revealing the pandemic that Black people have always been growing through, but an upside of the pandemic around mental health, and particularly what I am seeing in men and Black men, and it's people in general, it has helped to demystify asking for help. Uh,
Mhm.
while the mental health challenges have increased, I've seen more people reach out and say, I need help.
Mm.
Uh, I need therapy. And so, going back to what we started with Terry Williams, what you think is your curse could be, your blessing in disguise. There is someone right now that is in a healing community, a trusted healing circle, get in therapy right now that before the pandemic, they would not have done that, right? And so I do think that it's a blessing. And as I turn it over to Stephen to close with you, we invited Terry Williams into the room earlier. We invited Muhammad Ali into the room. And as we close, I want to just invite Jonathan McReynolds and Molly Music into the room. My friend David McGee sent me this song a couple of months ago, Adulting. And, it's part of my morning play, right? My playlist. And Adulting, Jonathan McReynolds and Molly Music. It starts off, I realized something when I woke up this morning. What I'm overwhelmed by is exactly what I wanted. Adulting ain't easy, even when you're happy. The work to maintain it can still make you crazy. And I'm not quite sure what it's all quite for, but maybe one day I'm going to finally learn that some things just ain't worth stressing about. I'm going to pray and not doubt that my God can work it out. Work it out. Yeah, I'm tempted to burst out in song, but I won't do that to the audience. And, uh, you know, perspective and perception, the stuff that we sometimes are overwhelmed by, is exactly what we wanted. And sometimes we just gotta let go and let God. And I'm gonna let go and let Stephen in this moment.
All right. Thank you for that, Shawn. Kelly, thank you so much. Once again, I acknowledge you, my brother, for the work you're doing, for the amazing work that you're doing in your community and the impact you're having. As I often say in Trailblazers, we're making an impact for the generation today, but for many generations to come, right, in the future. And you're changing the world with every action that you take, and I acknowledge you for that. As we get set to wrap up, I would love for you to share one action item that our Blazer Nation can take this week that's going to help them to blaze their trail. And after you share that, I'll allow you to close out in sharing a poem with us.
Yes, sir. So one action that we can take this week to blaze their trail would be for them to get back to that journal and find out what they're committed to in terms of helping the community. Find one way to volunteer, whether it's helping through literacy, whether it's sending letters to a nursing home, because I want this to be a piece about their self-care. Because you've been given some amazing information on what we can do to start a business, what we can do to kind of get ourselves out of a moment. But we need to also focus on that one step that we can do to take care of ourselves, so we have more room to be able to help others and be an impact on the community. Yeah. So find that one thing that you can do for yourself that allows you to serve, but also allows you to be able to be empowered and continue to move in this space that we call life and our journey.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, my brother. I'll allow you to close us out here.
All right, real quick. Breathe deeply and relax. Hear my words, for they are empowered by these forthcoming facts. And when life challenges you with obstacles, barriers, stereotypes that place you in a box or bubble, remember the great ancestor Frederick Douglass said, there can be no progress without a struggle. And for that outer box creativity, kick down the walls, blow off the roof. You, Blazer Nation, are living proof that creativity is not thinking outside the box. It's realizing that no box exists. You are and always have been the gift. So we know in the depths of the night that only darkness exists. It's in those pressurized conditions that coal is transitioned from a melanated stone to a precious diamond, signifying its venerable pedigree that includes each and every one of our pedigree and ancestry. So please breathe out and in and take this journey within. See yourself in our fellow men and women. You, my brothers, may have been asleep, yet now the kings are awoke and school's in session. And since we stand together on hollow ground today, Black elevation is our profession. If we're collectively accountable to orient your direction, we must go deep into the source, internal intuition and navigation, culturally cultivating the perpetuation of our elevation. The DNA and blood that runs through your veins is the highest octane fuel that chemists would say permeates change, maximizes resilience and drive, so efficiency thrives. When our creativity has matured, our central nervous system opens the door for receptors in our brain to function at optimal capacity, which explains your voracious tenacity. Summed up in several words, you're innovative, dynamic, empowered, scholars, warriors, and catalytic. They say you are what you eat. That's nutrition. I submit that you are what you think. That's cognition. Collectively, we change the narrative by turning the ignition. Then I must feed the facts that manifest your illustrious condition. You are that light, Brother Shawn. You are that light, Brother Stephen. You are that light that shines so bright that it blinds my vision at your very sight, whether by day or night. You are the archetype for past, present, and future. You're holographic with quantum capabilities. You're terrific. You are descendants of ancestors who wrote hieroglyphics and architecture pyramids, mansions, while also originating education and medicine. You are the creator's foundation and solution. I know they don't want this smoke. However, the mindful pollution and corruption, because you are our greatest eruption. If we build as we climb, then what are we building this time? Our minds can't be confined to a physical place or time. I understand that our assignment is divine. Therefore, we grind, align, educate, ignite, and transform until new dreams are born, eradicating this new Jim Crow and redlining until it's voided. I say failure is not an option. So those who doubt, stop, son. Remember that you shine like one. Oxymoron, polar opposites, day and night, sun and moon. The duality of life illuminates existence. Our persistence and commitment elevates when we understand our purpose. Therefore, I ask the elders for a strategic plan and guidance on how we effectively work this. Their response: invest in our best and brightest, which are the young, the middle, and old. Listen, speak infinite life into their soul while attentively helping them navigate their dreams and goals, then providing historical lessons that solidify the manifestation of their success. Let them know that they are truly blessed because they stand on the backs of our great ancestors who rest in power that we may live the same. Say their name: Maya, Garner, Malcolm, Nat, all great revolutionary leaders of the past. But what about the fallen soldiers who have recently transitioned, like Bland, Scott, Garner? Say their name.
Woo! Love and appreciate you, Village King Kelly R. Little. Thank you for the mission fuel, the Willionaire Wednesday, to allow us to keep on keeping on, brother. Thank you.
Thank you for this platform. You and Steven, man, I love both of you all. And I'm just grateful to be in this space and be able to share with your audience, one, how amazing you are. And then two, just to share space, because that's the collective nature of the village.
I love you, brother. Have a great week, guys. God bless.
All right.
Yes.